Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I just wanted to take a minute here and talk about something Pete and I were discussing in the boat the other day. We were talking about how we catch the fish. Everybody likes to go out there and enjoy catching a number of fish. Mostly when people go out, they enjoy catching bigger fish rather than smaller fish. Well, a lot of times you've got to sort through a number of smaller fish before you get to the bigger fish. So I like to look at it as a job interview process. So they're all working for a job to go into the smoker. You gonna buy that? Anyway, you throw out essentially your job announcement, right? There it is. Goes out in the water, trails behind your boat, and you look for likely candidates. Occasionally you'll have a fish that comes around and decides, yeah, he wants to apply for that job, see what's going on. So you might get him hooked. That's like the first part of an interview. It's almost like a phone interview. So you're reeling the fish in, you're kind of feeling them, get some idea of how big he is. A lot of times you can tell what species it is by how it fights, or maybe he'll jump, try to turn it into a video interview. And that process goes on. Fish may decide, well, I don't like that anymore, not interested in the job, and he'll take off. A lot of them you get to the side of the boat. When you get them to the side of the boat, that's the final interview. So they made it to the final interview. You get a chance to take a look at that candidate, decide whether you really want him or not, and that's when you decide if you're going to keep that fish or if you're not. Occasionally, when the fishing gets really hot and you're catching lots and lots and lots of fish, you might want to turn on the caller ID so you only get a certain amount of fish. And that's what you're looking at right there. So you're getting where I'm going with this thing. It's not really about a job interview, although I thought it was an interesting title for the video. It has a lot to do with the hooks that you're using. So a lot of times you fish plugs, you fish spoons. If you take a plug like that with a lot of erratic action, that's a crip lure, and you take that treble hook off and you replace it with a single hook, that's just like turning on that caller ID, because you're going to get less hookups, period. At least that's been my experience. I've read a lot and talked to a lot of people about hooks, single hooks versus treble hooks. A lot of the steelhead salmon community are that way, that nobody really likes treble hooks. They injure fish too much. They don't work well. Yeah. I will tell you that I think treble hooks and single hooks both have their place, but in different applications. A couple of things to think about. The biggest thing to think about with a hook: number one, a quality hook. Number two, you got to have a sharp hook. And number three, you've got to have the correct bend radius for the species that you're trying to catch. So a lot of the small lures you'll see have very, very small hooks on them. Let's pick one here. Let's see. So that is an ultralight shad. It's a Rapala ultralight shad, and it's got those tiny little treble hooks on there. I'm not sure what size they are. I'd have to say they're probably 8 or 10 by looking at them. They don't have much of a radius, right? There's a lot of hooks there, and you may hook some fish with that. And I have hooked fish with that and brought them in successfully. I do believe a hook like this tends to not catch larger fish very well, because it never embeds very deep, and you don't have any chance to get around any cartilage or anything like that. So it's easy to tear a hook like that out. It's sharp as hell, but that's not my favorite, even on a small lure like this. So what I would do with something like that, and I do a lot of times, is put a single replacement hook on there. A lot less points, you know, it's going to be harder to catch fish. That has not been my experience. This will catch fish just as frequently, and more frequently, and sometimes hooks them better anyway than that. Again, your mileage may vary, but I like the single replacement hooks within a certain range, right? In a certain type of lure. So these things, everybody's fished Rapala. This is a very small one, I understand that, but the action of a Rapala is fairly repetitive. Depending on what speed you're trolling it at, it's not tremendously erratic. It does go back and forth, and it swims well and has great action for fish, but it doesn't have the action of something like that. If you take something like that, which is a X4 quick fish, very similar to a flatfish, these have an extremely erratic action, very much like the crip lure does. So something like that that has a lot of really erratic action, you will definitely hook up less. At least I have, if you put single hooks on a plug like that. I still fish this one, but I don't catch as many fish on it as I do with that plug rigged like it came from the factory with treble hooks on it. So the same thing goes with your all of your spoons that have, you know, fairly aggressive erratic actions. I don't find that the single hooks work as well with a cast master. The single hooks seem to work well with needlefish. They work well with crocodiles. In fact, they include a single hook in with the crocodile package usually, because the action just works well with that single hook. The little humdingers, even the bigger humdingers, have a single hook on them. One of the things with rigging that single hook on a spoon, at least what I've read, is they say that that hook should point down toward the front of the spoon instead of up toward the top and the back of the spoon. I haven't fished it that way up. I fished them all down like that. And I will tell you, on a crocodile spoon, I don't notice a difference between a single hook and a treble hook. I'd really be interested in some comments from some of you folks with your experience of what you've seen. A lot of times if I can get away without fishing a treble hook, I will, because I find they're harder to get out. It is easier to damage fish depending on how you handle them with a treble hook sometimes than it is with a single hook. But the whole point of it I wanted to make was make sure that you have quality hooks, that you have the correct hook spacing or gap in that hook to catch what you're trying to catch, so there's a good chance of a good hookup versus something like that that's very tiny. I would not advocate taking this spoon now and putting big treble hooks on it. That's not what I'm saying, because you take a small lure and you put big treble hooks on there, you're going to end up killing the action of the thing. So if you want to change something on there, you could go to a single hook, and I've had a lot of good luck with those. Owner makes them. I believe these are Owners that I have, single replacement hooks. VMC makes them. There's a chart that tells you, hey, replace this size treble hook with this size single replacement. It's pretty intuitive, but I do believe that bigger hook gap really makes a difference. As far as fish hooks go, I don't buy off-brand fish hooks. I mean, I'm not a hook snob, but Gamakatsu, Owner, Mustad, all three make fantastic hooks. I would say VMC's pretty close up in there with them. I've had good luck with the VMC hooks. I just haven't bought a ton of off-the-shelf, no-name brand hooks from people, so I can't really comment on them. I will tell you those 4 brands are really good hooks. The other thing is hook color. There's a lot of people that will fish only this color hook or only that color hook. I'm partial to red hooks, but I'll fish black nickel hooks if that's what I have or that's what I can get. I have messed with some of the colored Gamakatsu hooks, and that coating that they put on them, the minute you grab them with a pair of pliers or even fish them for a while, that coating will come right off. So the red hooks don't tend to do that so much, but the, you know, like yellow, pink, all that stuff, it's just a painted coating. So just be aware of that. If you want them to look a certain way, they're not going to look that way forever. At the end of the day, I don't really think hook color makes a ton of difference. It's just one of those aesthetic things. A lot of this equipment that I have is I'm one of those guys that a lot of lures, maybe they don't catch fish, but they sure catch fishermen. And I've got a few things like that. So I just wanted to touch base with you on hooks, and I'll see you again soon. We got a good trip coming up to Lake Roosevelt next week, and we should have some good footage after that's all done for you. Thanks.